Hello, everybody. Today, this is the MicroProfile marketing meeting. My name is Ed Bratt. I'll be taking the meeting, most of the meeting minutes, but please remember everyone is welcome to help out and keep the minutes up to date and accurate. Let's see, the meeting minutes have been posted to the chat. Let me know if anybody else needs them. I will share my screen and we can get started. There weren't any specific new agenda items for today. I don't know if anybody wants to put anything on the agenda for today specifically, or we just want to walk through the things that have happened since we met 2 weeks ago.
And I'd always like to talk about branding and compatibility.
Okay.
Right. The other thing is I opened an issue regarding create new page to host all the compatible implementations as well. I don't know, do I have to add the issue somewhere, or there's automatically link?
Well, Emily, did you see my email response to yours?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but this is related, like in MicroProfile.io, I think we need to have a page to host all the compatible implementations.
Right, but we want that to flow through the branding and compatibility program. And one of the items on that plan is for the compatible products page. So I mean, good that we're producing one.
Yeah.
We want it to snap together with the other elements, which I think we can, you know, if we decide it's a priority, we could probably get through it pretty quickly.
Yeah, I agree. It's related. Maybe we just talk all of them, talk through them.
Yeah, happy to do that. Happy to figure out how we can accelerate over the finish line on this one.
Okay, let's see. So, Paul, is there anything specific you want to talk about here with this, or is it just sort of general status?
Well, no, I'd like to walk through that spreadsheet one row at a time and check in where are we at, who owns what, and if you know, and it totally up to you. But if you want to put some dates beside it and start, I just think we've got the formation of what could be a project plan to get her done, and I'd love to just get her done.
Do you have a link to the sheet?
I do. I'll drop it in the chat.
Thank you.
Yes, there we go.
That's the right page?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, give it a second. Still thinking. There we go. All right, so let's see. These first two are completed, right?
Yeah, and the third one,
Specification process
yeah, I
web
think
page.
Ryan's got a draft of it, and you know, it's kind of optional too, because you've got this, the MPSP, I believe, is in a GitHub repo, and I think there's a textual representation of it that's viewable in the GitHub repo. Certainly more friendly to have an HTML version of it, like Jakarta does. So
do we have a link for that? I could put that in.
I don't know, Ryan, am I remembering correctly?
I believe you're referring to the page that just needed to pretty much be formatted, right, onto our website.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We were looking at, it looked like something in a text doc or text editor before, and looked kind of brutal.
Let me find it for you, and I'll send the link in the chat here.
Okay, and then really you just need to put some if you choose to, just wrap some HTML around it, turn it into a readable doc, and link to it off your resources on your website.
Oh, that's true too. That's a good call.
Yeah, I mean, just keep her simple, and it's and discoverable. I mean, it's pretty much just what Jakarta did. Although I think Jakarta had a spec has a spec committee area where we put it there. But okay.
Sorry, so this is the working group charter?
No, this is the MPSP, the MicroProfile specification process.
Okay.
You guys did a customization of it. And so the requirement is, given you did do a customization of it, show the world what it is.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah, one of them might have been, okay, sorry, I think I'm mixing this up with a different one, so I'll be quiet now.
So is this, has this, so this is the marketing group. Does the steering committee or somebody need to approve this? Did we run a ballot?
It's
I don't know.
done. Yeah, it's already done.
All right.
They did it the fourth quarter of last year.
So
And John
page-
put it in the minutes.
Okay.
And if you didn't say, I dropped the link in this chat, Zoom chat.
Yeah, I'm just putting it in here.
Okay.
Okay, so
Okay, now let's go to the next.
why is this? I mean, I don't see any reason we can't mark this completed. Then
Well,
does
because it's
anybody?
not, I can't go to the microprofile.io, or can I? Is that link?
No, I don't
Yeah.
know if the link is the
Oh,
page
yeah.
is available. I don't know if the link is
Let me-
included any place.
Let me,
It is on the working group first banner, like top banner in one of the buttons. There's 4 buttons on the top. So if you go to the working group, there's become a member, join the discussion, working group charter, and that specification process.
oh yeah, I see it there. Nice little button.
Okay,
Works for me. Done.
Cool.
all right.
All right. I'll keep going.
See how productive we are?
Hmm?
Productive call.
Okay. All right. Next one.
Good.
Definite-
Email vote is completed.
Yeah, that's done. Yeah, completed.
Okay, that one's all right. So now we're into things that aren't completed. MicroProfile 401 platform specification. Are we still?
Can you scroll over to the left, please? So we see column A. Grab that little scroll bar there. There we go. Okay. All right. So row 9, which is the definition of,
Sorry, somehow my chat window got too big.
is the definition of compatibility. And in the MicroProfile 4.1 platform specification, you know, if you scroll down far enough in that platform specification, you'll see the definition of the platform spec and compatibility. And going by memory, I think it says you must run all of the individual MicroProfile TCKs for the, you know, the ingredient specifications and pass them.
Yes,
And that is your definition of compatibility. Whether or not you want to make it easier to find in that document is up to you. But yeah, there's, yeah, it ticks the box. You've got a definition of compatibility. There it is. I mean, you could go take a look at it. But you know, you all know where it is, so you know, it's probably fine. So then we need the working group, or sorry, okay.
Sorry,
Yes.
I was just following.
Well,
the
yeah,
link.
let's go there. Is that the specification?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Here.
And if you scroll down to the plot, there's something. It's been a while since I've been in there.
Do you know where it's
if you do the photo one, go to the photo one.
here?
Yeah. So it's the photo one, the complete, yeah, scroll down a little bit. Okay, let me find out.
I go up.
Research compatible implement.
Can you drop a link to that and that maybe you already did into the chat? Oh, there.
I just clicked on it from the
Oh, okay, great. I can
from the
find it over there.
spreadsheet.
Okay, thank you.
So a MicroProfile compatible implementation must pass all required TCKs provided by each MicroProfile.
Oh, there you go.
application.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's your definition of compatibility. I mean, could it be kinder, gentler, or friendlier, or easier to find? Maybe, but it does it ticks the box. You got a definition of it, and yeah.
Yeah, maybe we can improve it in the 5.0.
Yeah, fair enough.
Hider.
Okay, so
Can
that
you
one.
define, can you be a little bit more specific, Paul, in your kinder, friendly, or gentler, like easier to find kind of comments?
Well, one thought would be this, is I don't know, it's been a couple months since I thought about it. So I'd like to take, if you could, I'd be happy for you to assign an action to me and I'll come back with my input. But I'm certainly with Emily that what you got here is what is what's necessary and essential. Because what it does is it defines what compatibility is in a clear and precise way. Run those TCKs that are listed for those specifications that are listed below. And pass those TCKs. Let's say suggestions.
It just said
Provide
perspective. You
suggestions.
don't like that. You don't like perspective. You like it softer.
Yeah.
I was just going to say feedback.
Feedback.
Provide feedback yeah.
There you go.
All right.
Okay, next, go back to the spreadsheet.
Hang on.
Go to a different tab. The previous tab. Yeah, that tab. Yeah.
All right.
So-
So now we can say that row 9 is done. Okay, now let me explain. Let's take a look at row 10. So what row 10 is it's the, I'll wait till you pop it open.
Oh, you want me to? I'm sorry.
I might as well.
The community author draft.
Yeah. Maybe too strong a word, but it's basically the Jakarta version, largely with Jakarta crossed out and replaced with MicroProfile. But this basically is not the trademark licensing agreement, but it's a set of guidelines where signing and executing the trademark licensing agreement and passing the, and being and fulfilling the obligations of being a compatible implementation are described. So this document is ultimately owned by the Eclipse Foundation, but it needs to represent your intent as a working group. And the two discussions that are pertinent to this document are the ones that David initiated. One was with regards to whether or not this round would be, independent specifications as well as the platform would be in scope for the program. And the decision was made that the platform would be in scope for the program this round, which we previously discussed. And the other topic of discussion that was initiated by David on the list, and then I've responded to the thread a few times and spoke about it in this call, and then it's come up again recently, is the requirement to be a member of the working group in order to be eligible to use the compatibility logo. And Red Hat has taken a position that membership is not required or should not be required.
And Tommy Tribe as well, I believe.
Yes, and Tommy Tribe as well. And then I did ask some questions through the through comments in the mailing list, or sorry, in the minutes from last week's call to try to understand that a bit better, and then also float another idea. If not membership in the working group, then the working group could fund it on behalf of all organizations. You know, and how that would work, I'm not sure, because we've never done it before, but I guess that's a possibility. I mean, you could, the MicroProfile working group could fund this program on behalf of organizations, and we could say, you know, up to 25 organizations, we could, you know, it would be, you know, this would be our clip level, you know, the funding would be this, and, you know, and anyone that showed up and, you know, made it in and fulfilled all of the other requirements, then, you know, then I guess membership wouldn't be a requirement. You know, our need from the foundation perspective is there's work that we need to be done, and we're just looking to see that it's covered off by the working group.
Sorry, I want to make sure I understand that. So what you're saying is for someone to use the compatibility logo, they have to be a member of the working group. This is the Eclipse Foundation's position, right?
Well, that was our position, but I varied it up somewhat in my most recent response to Scott to say, well, you know, if not a member of the working group, because that's how we collect fees to cover off the work that we're doing on behalf of the working group, then I suppose the working group could fund it, and just on behalf of their members and anyone else that shows up.
So what kind of expenses associated with this? Like,
I don't know. That's always a tricky question, but I guess the answer is kind of depends on what it would require for us to set up a program like this, because we've never done it, and you know, how many organizations out there might there be that would want to become members. I mean, it's something I haven't thought too much about, other than to just counter or put it out there as a suggestion. But it's a good question, Emily. I mean, my perspective is that, I mean, there's the Eclipse Foundation position, which was membership is required. I actually think it's a reasonable thing to do, because it does show a wanting to be part of an organization that is stewarding the brand and the definition of compatibility. Your costs are fairly low to join the working group, but and I guess Scott has put something out there. It could be an element that could be voted on with regards by the the steering committee, which are the paying members that will be either paying the program on behalf of the industry, or will be funding their own usage or their own participation leverage of the brand.
Right, related question on this one. So it's for example, if a company is not a member and he claims the compatible implementation, so I mean, do you know like how much Eclipse Foundation will need to charge for such a claim? What kind of work associated with this claim? Is it just an email and to check whether the TCK result and etc.?
It would be, I think there'd be the one-time setup to actually put the program in place, because we haven't done it, and then the ongoing cost to see that. Well, here's the deal: is they still need to they need to enter into the trademark licensing agreement, and so we need to be able to process the trademark licensing agreement, and then there needs to be a compatibility request to assure that the requirements of compatibility were met. So, I think the ongoing, again, I don't think it's huge, Emily. I think there's some startup, some one-time thinking through that's got to be done because it's different than what we've done before. But, if that's where the steering committee wants to go, then we should take that as something that we could go investigate and come back.
Right, okay. So the other thing is you mentioned I need to be a working group member. What about a guest member? Is that count as a member?
A guest member generally isn't a commercial entity. They're a university, they're a research institute. They're not typically a company.
Oh, okay. So that's okay. I was thinking if someone doesn't want to join, maybe we can take you in as a guest. So that means what you're saying, guest has to be like a non-for-profit that kind of entity.
Yeah,
Okay.
generally speaking. So what is the if you're doing like a vote on the call today, where would people be leaning towards, non-membership or membership?
I was wondering what is the reason not having the requirement for the membership? And yeah, there might be reasonable guest members like the Apache Foundation with their implementations.
Yes.
And also maybe Eclipse projects that are could become a MicroProfile implementation. For example, if the Glassfish project decides to be compatible to the MicroProfile platform and add that stuff, do they need a membership then?
Okay, so in the case of Jakarta, what they had a special provision for that covered off Apache, and it required, I think it had something to do with guests, but it required unanimous approval by the steering committee. Whether or not it needed to be unanimous approval by the steering committee or a supermajority or a majority could be, a way of handling that. Jakarta went with supermajority. So that handles off that is an approach for handling off the Apache Foundation, which is, important to do so. And in the case of the Eclipse Foundation and our projects, we may actually be covered because we are the Eclipse Foundation, and the agreement that we have to enter into here is an agreement with the Eclipse Foundation in which we don't need to enter into agreements with ourselves. So
that could mean if there is a vendor which is not a member of the working group, then he could put his open source project to the Eclipse Foundation and then get a compatibility logo through that, the fact that it is already Eclipse Foundation project, or maybe using the Apache Foundation for that.
Yeah, so there's different ways in that would be zero cost. But generally, if it's a branding and competitive, if it's in the case of Jakarta, my observation is the cost of joining the Jakarta to access the brand has not been an inhibitor. Albeit Jakarta has 2 levels of paid membership with, well, 3 if you include enterprise. But joining at the participant level to access the brand hasn't been an inhibitor to anyone that's wanted to use the brand, because generally it's being done for commercial reasons. So there's a business case there, which is, I want the brand. It helps me in the market with my product. So I'll join the working group, pay the fees, and fulfill the obligations that I need to in this case, the Jakarta trademark guidelines. But I'm not here to try to tell you that that's the way MicroProfile should work, but that's my observation from a Jakarta perspective. I've never had a discussion with any organization other than Apache, and with Apache, we'd always had a way in for them. It was just a question of getting to a mutual understanding of what that was. And
John, can you say something about the requirement from the Red Hat perspective, not being a member and be able to use the compatibility logo?
I mean, we kind of see MicroProfile as an open source project, right? In general, and kind of requiring people to formally join it to use the logo just doesn't really feel like an open source project per se.
okay.
And I'll have to go back and look at all of Scott's arguments. So, and get caught up on what his latest comments are. But what I'm curious about here, so Paul, I think I hear two points that you're making, and feel free, correct me if I'm wrong. So I'm going to kind of state them out to make sure I understand them. One is, by doing this, you believe it strengthens the working group as a whole by having more members. And the other point is that I think for the branding guidelines, let's see, to be a working group member means they are also signing off on, like legally signing off on the use of the trademark, and then the IP patent flow is
They already
applied.
get that through the implementation and passing the TCK. Now, in the case of MicroProfile, it's the implementation patent license option. So just by virtue of doing an implementation of the specification, they get the patent flow.
Okay, right.
And the setup of the trademark guidelines does connect to the trademark license agreement, which is the next row in the spreadsheet.
Right. So they wouldn't be able to use the logo unless they passed. They were a member and they passed the TCK.
That's correct. And there's a few other things, but that's largely it. And the thing is that as an open source project, anyone can download the TCK, download the TCKs in this case, pass the TCKs that you're required to in the platform specification, and make bona fide claims of compatibility. What they're not entitled to do is use the compatibility logo unless they enter into the trademark license agreement with us. And what we're putting around it and what we're discussing now is the trademark usage guidelines. And what we had shown there a moment ago was really the Jakarta version with Jakarta crossed out, MicroProfile put in there. But I think, to me, it kind of gets distilled up to the key question, which is this one about, do you have to be a member of the MicroProfile working group? And you can go either way. I'm just saying that from an Eclipse Foundation, we're running a program on behalf of the working group, so there's a need to get for those expenses to get covered. What they are in the case of given your budget, I don't think there's going to be. I don't know. I have to pause for a moment because can a non-Eclipse Foundation member enter into the trademark license agreement with us? I'm not sure. That's kind of my pause for question, and whether or not that document needs any revision if it was to be entered into with somebody who wasn't an Eclipse Foundation member. Because your path to becoming a member in the MicroProfile working group is first to become a member in the Eclipse Foundation.
I mean, I like the idea of people wanting to participate because they see value, right? Not because they have to pass, in order to use the paywall, they have to kind of pay. I want them participating based on their feeling that they can make an impact by participating, because we want the logo to go as far and wide as possible. And, the risk, and I know it hasn't really happened in Jakarta, but part of it is because they have to join the working group. It's like, well, if we want the logo to go as far and wide as possible, and if we start kind of requiring people to become members, then there's the risk of they become members, don't participate because all they want is the logo, not necessarily to evolve the platform itself, but just to be compatible. And then you start running into potential issues around voting. So what level would they have to enter the working group as?
Well, in the case
they
of
were to join?
Jakarta, they join at the participant level, and they may or may not be the participant rep on the steering committee or the spec committee, but they join at the participant level, and they're basically, the value. You're right, John. There's got to be value for it, and in the case, the value that they're getting is actually the brand. They value being able to put that brand, and so they are contributing to the overall support of that brand, because the brand has to be, you want it to be marketed. It's got to be protected. You've got to defend the brand if somebody's using it inappropriately. And the farther and wider it goes, then you certainly create more surface area that you've got to go and see that there aren't bad actors. And if they are, you're doing something about it. But there's no real right or wrong answer. The only thing that as far as administering the program on behalf of the working group, and as well, there's got to be kind of, we've got to keep that to the essential level that's required in order to fulfill the wishes of the working group. So I guess what's key is kind of making that decision. The other consideration too is start then change. You could start with requiring membership in the working group and then open it up to anybody. Once the program's up and running.
That's a good idea. That makes easy at the beginning, things easy at the beginning. And if there's a real use case of having an extra rule or an option, then it should be done. And I at the moment, there might be the case there is an open source implementation that wants to use the logo and is not directly involved as a member, but if it is possible, for example, the Apache Foundation or another Eclipse project to get that if required, then I think there is no additional use case, because if I'm in the position, I'm a company and being a vendor of a MicroProfile platform, then the MicroProfile specification is not a static thing. They are developed constantly. In case of MicroProfile, at a normal release cadence of 3 releases a year. So I need some people being involved to track these changes, so I can catch up with newer versions of the specifications with my product. Then I can be involved, and I have a really good reason to be involved as a member.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think before we have a problem, we make it simple so that we can go through the process, and then this doesn't mean we can't change. If someone comes and want to use it but doesn't want to join, and then we can discuss how can we cover the funding and etc. The other thing I have been looking at implementation. I think the other known implementation, Cumulus EE, I think maybe they could join is like not much cost at all if they want to join.
There's multiple levels of value, right? It's for somebody to implement MicroProfile in a product, then that already shows they show that they perceive value in the specifications, right? And in MicroProfile itself. That's different than the value they might find having to participate in the community itself and in working on specs and stuff like that, right? So there are multiple levels of value, I guess I'll say.
Well, and because they could still participate in the spec projects without joining the working group. They could be a committer member in MicroProfile without their company joining the working group. They could still be a committer member. So there's
right, but I'm looking at it in the reverse, right? They implement the specs, but aren't necessarily interested in participating in the working group.
Yeah. Well, or the spec projects, I think you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't know that I hear that. It does strike me as, if I'm a customer of said vendor, I would like to know that they had some influence in the technology governance, in the technologies that their product is based on. Otherwise, they're going to be.
But that's up to the vendor to decide if their customers value that.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. Yeah. Absolutely.
One of the areas that's always kind of bugged me going back in my, Sun Oracle days when I worked on this is the fact that, vendors had to implement an entire spec like JMS, right? If all they wanted was the client side of the API. So take, for instance, I'm an integration vendor and I want to use the JAX-RS REST client in my product. And I want to claim compatibility so I can connect to backend REST services. And that's primarily what I'm interested in. I'd hate to say that I have to join the working group just because of the REST client, right? And to say I'm compatible with the REST client.
Yeah, I understand that, but I can say I pass all the client-specific tests and show that and guarantee that, but I'm not able in this case, when I'm not a member, putting that nice logo on the box to say, yeah, I fulfill everything. And in the case, you have to fulfill not only the component specification, you have to fulfill the platform requirements.
And you've just limited the reach and scope of MicroProfile by doing that, in my opinion.
Yeah. Suggestion, good discussion, but I think the item that we're tabling here is this question with regards to membership or not. And my suggestion would be to we need a way to get to an answer. And that's probably what's most critical. And I'm not sure we can do that right here and now, but we do need to get there. And I would like to go through the other rows of the spreadsheet so that we see what we've got left to do.
Yeah, time check. We have 18 minutes left.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Either you're going to vote on it, or you're going to, I guess there's a few options. One is you vote on it, and and actions on us with regards to, if you did this program that was open to everybody, what would our impact be in order to support it on your behalf? And then the other is, do you just get going with requiring membership, and defer that option of opening it up to everybody, until once you got this thing up and running? And, in a way, it's a good problem to have, i.e. somebody beating you up saying, why can't I use the logo? And then come back and actually, then we'll take another rev at it, another kick at it with regards to how do we evolve it to the point where it doesn't require membership.
Yeah, at the moment, we are only discussing about the whole platform compatible implementation. So I think we should just go simple first.
I suspect Red Hat would vote -1, and I can't speak for Tommy Tribe, but they might vote -1 as well.
Okay, well, then it's kind of, what do you want? You could, either you kind of work it as consensus and try to get to an outcome, or you call a vote
Sorry, Paul,
and,
didn't mean to interrupt.
and, and you live with the outcome for now. That's more or less up to you. And that vote would need to take place within the steering committee, because this hangout isn't a governed body.
Yeah, that's correct. Starting a consensus thread on the meeting tomorrow might be an option.
Okay. All right. Well, let's keep going. Let's see, where are we? Okay,
Row
so I think it's row. Can you scroll to the left again, please, Ed?
I'm the new ad.
Oh, thanks, Emily. Sorry about that. So where were we? So trademark license
here.
agreement is row 14, and that is a document that is owned by the Eclipse Foundation, and it is the legal agreement that those that want to use the compatibility logo need to enter into with the Eclipse Foundation. And in order for us to finalize that, we need to finalize row 10. But we've been thinking about it, and Sharon Corbett has been working on a draft of it, albeit it's one that's based on membership. If there is no membership, then it may require some necessary changes. So that's that row. And then, yes, we'll make a PDF of the agreement and sort of things that we would naturally do with any license agreement that we need to circulate and have signed and retain and enforce. So next is compatibility logo artwork, which through the good work of Ryan, I believe you've got a selection of logos to pick from. You need to pick one, and we need to make sure that it's a logo that we can register on your behalf. And I believe we've done a pre-review of the ones of the candidates that were proposed. And I don't believe either we did. In this case, it could be no news is good news, but I'm not aware of any problems that we would have. Be it, don't take my position as definitive. So the next, I think and so getting to this decision on the logo has taken us to this SurveyMonkey account thing, and I ideally just want to figure out how does that proceed so that you guys can make a decision on your logo, and we can add it to the artwork page. And and I think the brand usage handbook is in good shape. I've listed because it's an Eclipse owned brand, our marketing team needs to take a look and review and have final approval on that brand usage handbook, but no doubt there's not going to be any problem at all because it's in good shape and perhaps patterned after what was done for Jakarta. So that one should just be a smooth path forward. Compatible products page. The key thing about compatible products page is then kind of coupled with the steps to get on that compatible products page, and and whether or not a GitHub issue template is used as a step to get that. You can take a look at what was done in Jakarta in order to get listed, and my assumption is that you would be doing something like that. And one of those steps as you're towards getting listed would be to for the Eclipse Foundation to verify that the organization has entered into the trademark license agreement. And as well, the TCK license requires that a link to the test results be sent to tck@eclipse.org for that selling the test license. And this page that we just looked at lives in GitHub, so feel free to rip it off and clone it and use it if you like it.
I have a small update on the SurveyMonkey. we did a little research, and I believe we figured out which plan that is needed to hit all the requirements. So that should be moving forward. So I hope the vote will go out sooner than later.
Okay. Okay. And then let's see. Okay, then so everything above 25 is what we need to get to the point where we can launch the program. Once everything is done, then we're into ongoing support of the program.
What do you mean ongoing support for the program?
So ongoing support, row 27, trademark maintenance and enforcement. So you've got trademarks. We've got to make sure that they're being used in an appropriate way and nobody's misusing the trademarks of the MicroProfile trademarks, including the compatibility brand. That's row 27. Row 28 is an organization needs to enter into the trademark license agreement, which is in row 14. We need to execute that agreement, store that agreement, and and basically keep track of those that have signed it and those that haven't, and anything else related to administration of the program.
So here, administration and program. So this is effectively is what the experiment, the exercise I have done today. Like I send an email to TCK, so and then verify everything is okay, and then get approval. Is that get a listed request for verification?
Well, so the get listed request, the way for get listed in Jakarta, there's a certification request that gets sent to the spec project. And that the spec project, the platform project, or the web profile project does a +1 to say that the results that have been shared are okay. And then that's the spec project weighing in to say that that the results were passed. The Eclipse Foundation then checks to see that we've got a trademark license agreement in place, checks to see that they're actually a member, which is probably what we do before we check to see that they've done the trademark license agreement. If we go to the get listed on Jakarta, that's basically what we're doing. And I don't know if Ed, or Emily, if you want to pop over there. Or if you'd like, I can share and show you.
Oh, okay, let me stop and you can share.
And Ed's also an expert in all this, and he can keep me honest.
Mm.
Hang on, I can't type very well. Yep, so the get listed button.
Oh, the button, I see.
Yeah, and then these are the steps to get listed.
Okay.
That's what I mean. And this is the equivalent that we would expect MicroProfile to have.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, there's a little duplication of what's here with regards to what's already in the TCK license, but generally it's been helpful, and generally organizations have been able to navigate it and get it done. And so there's that GitHub issue that I mentioned earlier.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And that's, I mean, this is, it's simple, it works.
Yeah.
Feel free to clone it. I mean, the other thing too with the compatible product page is, and the getting listed, there's a small number of you who will actually ever do it. So, albeit though, John, we'd love to have a raft of organizations show up from all over the industry that want to be listed on the compatible products page. So, I want to make it as straightforward and easy as possible to get through. So it says, it comes down to like, how do you, I mean, I'd love to just drive ahead here and get this program done. I think the key question is this one about being a member or not. To me, that's the last question of substance that needs to be wrestled to the ground. And, and one way of approaching that is to, is pragmatically is to defer that one and get going with membership and then add it at a later point in time. But that's,
Or we could start the reverse. Leave it open, and if it becomes a problem, then
Yeah.
and in the future release, you could constrain it to membership only.
yeah, kind of hard to go the other way sometimes. Then you're booting people out whose logos are already on a page. But
Well, for a release.
for release, yeah. Yeah, I mean, and probably, yeah. So let us know. Like we've got to do our homework with regards to what are the implications of non-membership to the MicroProfile working group, funding a program on behalf of the industry, and something good to have in mind would be like how many, if you went down a path like that, how many implementations do you think there would be? All right, back to you, Ed. Or Emily.
I vote
Yeah.
Ed. Oh, sorry, because I thought he was running the agenda. Yeah, who is running the agenda now? Is it Ed or Emily?
I don't know.
Ed, can you talk? Okay. Maybe I add it as is having an audio or something. Okay, so so the next thing, so let's quickly wrap up this one. So this is pretty much all kind of the on hold until we finalize whether to force the implementation to be a member or not, right? Am I right?
You are right.
Okay.
Force is not the word I would use. I would use require.
Why? Okay. Okay. Okay, so that's the kind of the that's for the compatible logo conversation. So we have like 2 more minutes. So it's basically I raise the GitHub issue regarding like we create a page on MicroProfile.io like somewhere to host the compatible implementations. So basically similar to the Jakarta EE compatible implementations. Somewhere on a working group or something. So it's presumably that can't be done until we have the compatible logo program ready. Okay, so I think we are pretty much running out of time. I don't know whether there's any other issues that need to be discussed. Ryan, do you want to discuss anything else?
In 1 minute.
1 minute?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. What about you, Titiana? Do you want to bring up anything else?
Not really, no updates from my side for now.
Okay, in that case, we call it a day then. We reconvene next week.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone. I'll upload this to YouTube.
Okay, great. Thank you all.
Thanks. Bye
Thank
bye.
you, bye.
Good day. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, bye.